Hey, good morning. This is Christy Mattoon here. I hope you can hear me. I forgot to plug in a microphone, but I'm not going to worry about it. Subscribe to my channel, please. I always appreciate that. And if this message helps you, please share it. Share it across whatever people share things on these days. If the message helps you, it'll probably help somebody else. And it also helps my channel and my work. So I greatly appreciate that also. What I wanted to talk to you about today is justice. I've been working a lot on inner heart things, which is what all of us are working on, hopefully. And in doing so, I have changed a lot of things in my life. In the practice of the things that show up, right? That's when I notice the biggest differences, how I react, how I respond, what I do next, and how I handle myself in response to whatever's going on. And I find it interesting when things happen, like big life-altering events happen. How do you handle yourself? How do you stay connected? How do you stay focused? And so my most recent thing that's happened, and I've talked about it quite a bit in my inner circles, but is my father's heart attack and his high blood sugar episode basically changed his whole life, and in that happening, it changed my whole life. So what has gone on since is now he's moved in with us. I'm basically helping him recuperate, which has been really cool actually. He's moved out of his home from like 50 years. You know, he lived with his wife, my mother, who is a horrible narcissist, who tore my life apart and continues to try to do so, which I find interesting and crazy. In the aftermath of all this, what I'm hearing from my siblings is she's blaming me for what's happened with him moving. And I guess in her line of sight, in her line of vision, that could be true. But it's what she's always done. And so it's nothing any different. Here's what I have noticed is in all of this going on, I keep asking for help and guidance from spirit, from different archangels. I keep talking to them. I've talked to them for years. I talk to them all the time. And one of the lessons I've learned, one of the first ones I got was on compassion. And it was just the deep feeling. Here's what compassion feels like. And here's what it makes you do. Here's what compassion leads you to, right? So that was the first thing I got. And it was actually a meeting I was swept away into when I was trying to go to sleep one night. I rolled over and got super dizzy. Everything started spiraling, and I started to lay back flat and try to steady the dizzying, and I heard, just stay here. And I stayed there, and the dizziness was gone in an instant, and I took off. I was like whisked away, is the only way I can say it, and was standing in front of who I would say was Yeshua in true form. It wasn't the biblical representation of, and who I would call John the Baptist. So he was the baptizer. He is a Gnostic teacher, if you read texts beyond the Bible, and did amazing things along the lines of what we would say Christ was doing. And so in standing with these two, I was giving understandings, deep levels of understandings about compassion and peace. As this thing has gone on, what has happened is an understanding of justice. So the other night, my mother fell down. So I've got my father here. My mother is still living where she lives. Fell down, has ended up in the hospital, and is already in a rehab center. This has happened in a matter of days, and is now headed towards an elder care center where she'll probably live out the rest of her life. And what I was taken to was justice, because I won't lie about it, I'm pissed. Like, part of me is just like, what the heck were you thinking? What were you trying to prove? What was your point in all of this? And if you know narcissism, if you understand narcissism, if we had to call it something, I would say it's a mental illness, if it's anything. If you live under the guise of narcissism or a narcissistic person, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everything is mayhem. Everything is chaos. Everything is manipulation. Everything is twisted. Everything is twisted. And you never really know what's truth and what's not truth. And I lived my whole life that way, my whole life, which is why now I'm such a seeker of truth. I want truth in everything, in every form. And so what I was shown was justice. And I've had this show up before in my life. I was speaking to a friend years ago, and we were working on some things together, and she kept looking at me, and finally she's like, I just have to tell you this. I keep seeing the word justice just flashing above your head. And she goes, I keep asking God, what is this justice? What is justice? And what she told me was justice is for you, first of all. She goes, where do you value yourself in any of the situations? And I was telling her about some issues we were going through. She goes, in any of the situations you're talking about, where do you value you? Where do you value yourself? And all I could sit there and do was cry. I was like, man, I just don't. Like, I'm always doing for other people. I'm always hands in, taking care of, trying to make sure things are right? Trying to make sure things are working the way they're supposed to work. And she goes, and where are you in all of that? And I was just like, oh man, oh, good night. And so understanding that has led me to a lot of different places. And now most recently, justice has popped up again with this understanding. We were taught justice in our Western world, and wherever you are in the world watching this, however you were taught justice, think of it that way. Justice to me was learned by a court system that was set to punish people, right? So if we're handing out justice, it's because you need punished for something you did or didn't do, right? Justice, the way it's taught and the way it's understood, means that there has to be an equal force reaction to whatever was done, right? Up to even the death penalty. That's justice. What I understood, and this was, I want to say it was Archangel Metatron and Archangel Michael. So it was the scribe of God and the protector of God. It was, right, two strong forces. Justice is not an equal action against whatever happened, right? It's not an equal production of energy against whatever happened. Justice in its truth is compassion. Justice in its truth is compassion. And I'm sitting around here going, and I didn't use the word justice, but I'm just like, she makes me so mad. I want her to know how angry I am at the situation. And then I get sat down and I get told justice is not an equal reaction. If you have an equal reaction, you're expending energy that you don't want to expend. And you probably don't have it to expend in that situation. So with my mother, I'm going to keep using this as an example. With my mother, if I use the idea of justice as an equal expenditure of energy to make her understand the hurt she's put me through and many other people, I'm wasting my energy, right? She is effectively an energy vampire. She will suck your life, your soul out of you. That's what they do. That's what narcissists do. If I use justice in a compassionate form, and I say I'm seeking justice, I have to go into compassion. Do I go into compassion for the person that created the injustice? This is what I was told. No, don't do that. The compassion isn't for them. The compassion is for yourself first. So I have compassion. I'm just going to feel compassion to the issues, the situation, the way things happened. Compassion, we've talked about this before. What does compassion do? Compassion brings you to forgiveness when necessary for others, possibly in whatever they did, and for yourself for either allowing it to happen or staying in the situation when you shouldn't have, right? And forgiving yourself in general, just for the years of torment that you went through, not meaning that it was your fault. That's another misunderstanding with some of the things that we do. Forgiveness, if I have to forgive you, you did something wrong, it was your fault. Like I have to forgive myself, it must have been my fault. That's not it at all. Forgiveness takes off energy cords. Forgiveness moves energy in a different direction. no matter what it's to, no matter what the issue was. So if I want justice, and I do, I have to be in compassion for myself, the whole situation. I just have to have the feeling of compassion. In general, the feeling of compassion will help clear the issues. It threw me back into forgiveness, which I've gone through numerous times in many situations that come back to her. But the forgiveness wasn't for her necessarily. It was just forgiveness. And most of the time it came back to me for allowing myself to walk face first back into this junk. Because it's not going to change. It's not going to be any different the next time I walk through the door. Why do I keep doing that? Right? So I forgive myself. And then over the years, I've come to this place where I can just be here, and now justice shows up again. And justice means go back into compassion. If you use the idea of looking into a mirror, right, where we think the mirror is a representation of us, because we all are us. We're all interconnected. We're all aspects of God, and therefore pieces of one whole energy, right? We're all pieces of the same consciousness. And if I'm looking at you because I'm seeing something in me, right? That's the mirror aspect, the mirror relationship. And so as I'm generating compassion for myself, thinking about these issues, I am generating compassion for her, right? She is still an aspect of God, whatever that is. And I can laugh about it now. I can't just be like, ugh, right? It's crazy situation right now, but in compassion, I'm a higher vibration. I'm vibrating in a higher level. My spirit's actually giving me more information because the physical unit, the physical body is vibrating in a higher vibration. I'm in a different dimension, if you will, vibrationally. My spirit comes through. It's able to give me more information. I can get to the higher spirits. I can get to the archangels. I can get to God. I can get into the universe. I can go to wherever I need to go to with my consciousness to attain new information to help me get through these situations. Compassion moves you that way, right? Compassion gets you there. All the energy centers or chakras, if you will, are lined up, turned on. The rainbow is blasting through my system. And it's just this higher level vibration that allows me to move, right? To move in that different direction. And so I don't have to seek justice in the form of I want her to hurt the way she hurt me and the way that she hurts everybody around her. I don't have to do that anymore. So take a deep breath. Nice long deep exhales. Big inhale. Nice long deep exhale. One more time. Big inhale. Nice long deep exhale. I hope this blesses you today. I hope it gives you a little bit of understanding the way it was given to me. Hey, and I want to tell you too, if some of this stuff works for you and some of it doesn't, throw away the stuff that doesn't, right? It either wasn't necessarily meant for you or it's just not time yet. So don't try and force yourself into holes you don't fit into. You'll get there. I promise you'll get there. If you want to work with me privately, contact me at Christy@mindrewire.com. I do have a thing coming up this weekend that I'm going to start promoting and pushing really hard. So look around for another video on my channel. It's actually, we're going to be clearing and working with the vibrations and the programming that have been left inside of us because of things like media, TV, movies, radio, the stuff that's been deeply imprinted into our brains and cells, all the cells of your body, right? Things like Western medicine, big pharma, things like government and religious organizations. It's going to be a 3-lecture series, so take a look for that. It actually starts this weekend. This is May 12th, 2020. And so then the recordings will be available after that. But take a look for that. That's going to be super helpful. I hope this blesses you. I hope this helps you. You always bless me by being here, whether you know it or not. So I thank you for that. And we'll be talking again soon.